Welcome again to another episode of Straight Talk with Grover Thornton. This program is designed to inspire you and to educate you on how government impact our lives, federal, state, and local. This program is sponsored and produced by our Black media, Mr. Julius Hall, President and Chief Executive Officer. I'm happy tonight to be here and to tell you about an event that happened last night, and we'll have our guest, who was an honoree last night on this wonderful program at Gilliard's under the auspices of the Reverend Leonard Smalls. Oh, my man, he made us fantastic remarks last night after the program. Our guest tonight, he should be on in just a moment or so, but I just have to reflect on how good it was. Our honoree was honored for all the magnificent things that he did on the program in this community, and they roasted him. And I was one of the ones that roasted him. I mentioned the fact that I did not, in my lifetime, roast anybody. The only roast I knew about was one that you put in the oven. Everybody laughed. But the fact of the matter, I did make a couple of funny remarks about him. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, he was magnificent in his presentation. Has he come in yet? We're still waiting for him to. He's on the premises. He will be in shortly, and Mr. Hall will have him on. But I just have to tell you some of the things that Dr. Smalls, a magnificent man in my judgment. Oh, my God, I wish we had more men like him in leadership in this community. As far as I'm concerned, and know that only two people now living today that will address issues that are affecting our community and Mr. Gilliard, who will be our principal guest tonight, Carl Gilliard, state representative of District 162. But when I think of persons who are in this community doing things, informing Black folk, helping us to know where we are and how we prepared to move forward. And that is Mr. Julius Hall with 4 programs, and when necessary, the Reverend Dr. Small, Leon Small. In fact, I forgot to mention last night that his mother, Mrs. Mamie Small, worked right along with me and me with her, all during the 60s, to bring forth the equality that we were entitled to in this city. Mr. Carl Gilliard, during his younger days, I forgot to mention that last night. I had it on my notes, but I invariably forgot to mention it. And it was he that published an article some time ago in the Herald. And as I said last night, I have a hobby of a container containing things that happen in the world, like the man who first went to the moon and assassinated the president. I got newspaper articles with headlines on the events that occurred. And I have in my memorabilia one by Mr. Carl Gilliard, where he was pictures was taken by the Herald Tribune, and he was calling for something to be named in the honor of Mr. Jose Williams, who was magnificent in this community. I marched with him at night, and they eventually put him in jail. You people who are enjoying all these benefits today, long before the 64 Civil Rights Bill, we owe a lot to Jose Williams, Deborah Law, and all of those, including myself, who marched and who brought down Barton Street. We were tired of women being called by their first name, men being called a boy. How old you got to be before you be not called a boy? All the disrespect. And yet still, we are spending our money. But when we withheld that money, I'm telling you, baby, that went on for 18 months. And as a matter of fact, I often think about it. I went on and told my mother, I said, Mama, you may have to come and get me out the jailhouse because they put me in the police car to take me to jail. When I was in Germany, after I got out of the military, I bought a camera because I went over someplace in Germany, Nuremberg and Wagner Festival, stuff like that. And I would threaten the people, now if you go in the store, when you come out, I'm going to take your picture. and I'm going to display it in front of the church in which our Sunday mass meeting will be held. Nobody wanted that because every church was filled to the capacity. I was so proud of my people during the boycott in 1960, 61. Every church that we went to, if you didn't get there by 4 o'clock, you got no seat. Now, I'm a member of the First Baptist Church, and that church holds 1,600 people. And at 4 o'clock, that church was filled to the capacity. I was so proud of my people because of what they did. And I got married 3 times in one day within 3 or 4 hours because I'll see a young lady. I said, come here, I need you to be my wife. I mean, this lady's in this stove. H.L. Green, I can remember that just as good. And I said, I got to go in there and get this woman at the stove. We got to make this and keep this boycott 100%. We got to break them till they come to our wishes to remove all these segregated signs, and the ladies can't go in the ladies' dressing room to try on a dress and all this ignorance, completely ignorance. And I saw this lady, and I moved forward with Mr. Gilliard just like this, and I come back later on after if I have the time. But this lady was in H.L. Green, and there was a big bin with items in it. And I saw this one black woman in the stove. And I told this young lady, I said, now come here, I need you to be my wife now. I got to get this lady out of the stove. So I go in the stove. I had to be cool and careful because she might have came out on me. Don't tell me where to spend my money. Call the police on this man or whatever. So I was very cool. She was a middle-aged lady. And I said, hey, darling, how are you today? Oh, fine. I'm just picking up things, looking also. And I said, we got a mess going on down here on Broughton Street. I said, but, we're tired of being mistreated. Look around this store. You don't see anybody black in here. And if you saw someone, it'll be someone with a broom and a dustpan or rag dusting. And I said, that's my wife over there looking at some hats. I said, well, we need to get out of here, but I got to go and tell her that I will be over at this bin and while she look at these hats. So I said, we need to go down to Robin Department Store on West Broad Street, and let's make this sacrifice so that we can bring the change that's so urgently needed in this community. She said, okay, young man. I said, thank you, darling. I'm going to do the same thing, get from downtown with all this foolishness. I wasn't going anywhere, but that's what I told her. So I go over to the young lady that's supposed to be my wife, and I said, now, Bob and baby, we've gone to 2 stores already looking at hats. Oh, that lady, she was so glad to be waiting on that one young lady because she had not done no business all day, standing up all day long with her arms folded, waiting on nobody going into the stores. And I said, I tell you what, let's do. Let's go back down the street and look at the hat that you saw in the other store, and we make a decision. First, I like the one you're looking right here wearing on your head right now. But let's go check the other one. Then you make a decision, and then we decide which one you want. She said, all right, then. We left the store. So I got the woman out the store, and I stood before Silver's department store, and they had all the cookies in the glass. They used to weigh your cookies and stuff. Now everything is packaged. So you see how all the evolution has made different changes. And they were going to the store. I said, let all the crackers, it's loud all out the store. Speaking like I did last night. Let all the crackers break up. Let them dry rot. We're not buying them. And all the while, I felt somebody touch me on my shoulder. And it was a policeman, weighed about 500 pounds. He said, you come with me. So I had no choice. I went with the police officer, and he opened the door in the back seat of the car and got in and sat down. So he gets on the phone, call into the headquarters, and he tells the lady, say, we have one here. It was 2 other police officers was in the car. One was sitting in the back seat with me and 2 was in front. And a few moments later, the response came back, and he asked the lady, said, we have one here that was keeping people out of the store with the camera. She called back in about maybe 10 minutes, and she said, we cannot apprehend him or arrest him because of a camera, unless he was on a military installation. Now, we can understand that if I'm running around taking pictures of military operation vehicles and other things. And they had to let me go. And I got right out, went right back, and got married twice. And kept the people out of the stores. So we suffered in this community. And we made progress, but we have become so complacent. And that's why I'm so indebted to Leonard Smalls, the Reverend Leonard Smalls, Dr. Smalls, and Mr. Julius Hall. Fine man. Those are the only two people. Mr. Hall with his show, 4 shows. Nobody else doing anything in Savannah. We have become so complacent. And yes, sir, they're trying to take everything we work for away from us. Now I'm ready for is our guest here? Yes. That's him. Good evening, Mr. Carl. How are you today?
Mr. Grover Thornton, it is my honor and my esteemed, excited honor to be here on your show tonight. I was looking forward to this. I was so excited that Julius probably laughed at me because I gave him on 30 minutes before, and he says it's not time yet. So we're glad to be here.
Well, I was excited last night on your observations you made. You were honored. I want the people to know this gentleman was an honorary person. This man has done so much in this community since he's been in the House of Representatives. And don't pay no picture in that mess would be the paper about this man. Let me tell you something. Anytime you are possible and doing things in the community and being a black man, they're behind you. They go try to bring you down. They try to bring down Jesus. Don't forget that. That's our example. That's all the scribes and the Pharisees always in cahoot trying to deceive how we can destroy this man. So, Ms. Gilliard, man, you made so much good in your presentation. And Dr. Smalls, he was just talked about the Democrats need to get on board and stop this foolishness, the nonsense. But since we're starting to show you my special guest tonight, you represent the 162 district. Give everybody a little synopsis of your background and all that about you, Mr. Gilliard. A lot of folk don't know that. They see your name in the papers and all.
Well, Mr. Thornton, we stand on your shoulders. First of all, let me pay homage to you as the dean of this movement. You're here. You're relevant. You've always been the voice, unbiased and unbought. You remind me in the spirit of so many people that mentored me, like Reverend Dr. Hosea Williams and Reverend Bolton and all those that have gone before us. But you're the relevant person. You are the dean that's still here, challenging us and catapulting us to get off our posterities and do something. I am a product of Savannah, Georgia, by ways of Henry and Gertrude Gilliard, one of 10 children. I was the knee baby, number 9. So I was the one that they left, they had to call Danny, Mark, Nisi, Jackie, and then they got the Carl. I was a knee baby. So I grew up here as a product of the Savannah Chatham public school system. But I'm a post-civil rights child. I grew up during the civil rights movement, and I remember seeing those demonstrations and marches, and to sit at the feet of so many giants that have mentored me. But as I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, not too far away from this place called Hazard County, I tell people I lived at 308 East 34th Street, but Hazard County around the corner raised me. And so we stand on the shoulders of giants. I left Savannah, went to Morris Brown. I got a chance to meet Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry, meet Reverend James Orange, meet Thunderbolt Patterson, sit at the feet of C.T. Vivian, sit at the feet of even people like Ben Hooks, my civil rights father, Reverend Fred D. Taylor, who just passed away this week, was the ground soldier for direct action for SCLC. So I was mentored in the SCLC under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry. I do understand what it is to be a foot soldier, because I know that many times we got involved with legends of the movement, the Francis Bright Johnsons and others, and campaigning for people when we didn't even get a paycheck. And so I'm here because of the giants. Many years ago in 1868, there were 33 original Black representatives and senators. They were called the original 33. Tunis Campbell Jr., Tunis Campbell Sr. There were 25 AME pastors. 14 of them were lynched and killed. I'm going to repeat that. They were state representatives and senators. 33 of them, 14 of them were lynched and killed. So I stand on the shoulders of giants. And being here with you, Mr. Thornton, and being with you all last night, and let me thank the Weeping Times Coalition for what they did. So many times when leaders are running and working and pushing, we don't have someone to hold us up. So everyone that was in that room last night, especially under the leadership of Dr. Reverend Leonard Smalls, and Dr. And Reverend Gordon, Pastor Gordon, and so many others that were in that room, all the way around that room. I'm very thankful.
Now, let me ask you this. How many years you've served now in the state legislature?
I've been in the Georgia House of Representatives for 8 years. And 2 years ago, I decided to run for the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And I'm currently serving as the chair of the largest Black caucus in the world.
And also last night, before I can say that, let me just interject this. You became president, and I'm going to get right back to that while you mentioned about the SLC, Southern Leadership Conference, which Dr. King was the president. And you had a chapter here. You're still the president, still in existence, but I know this about, I judge everything on the death of my wife. She'd be dead 10 years and come in January. So we're talking about maybe 15 years ago, your organization was doing such a marvelous job in Savannah. I received an invitation to come, and you all honored me with a plaque sitting right here on my bookcase and called me a drum major.
Yes.
You talked last night about you being a drum major, a little roasting you, But I appreciate that, what you did to me. And you have been a great man in this community, a great young man. In fact, I have in my memorabilia a picture that I got.
I'm waiting to see that. You keep talking about that picture. I want to see that.
Yeah, I cut out of the Herald.
Oh, wow.
And you were calling for, I forget to say that last night. It was on my mind to mention, but I was so carried away with talking about you and an event. And after that marvelous words by Dr. Smalls, and you, when you got on there, you really educated. I wish every Black person could have heard you last night talking about the things that in the future we're going doing to get out the vote and all of this. But I had this picture cut out of paper. I was had been the Herald, and you were advocating something to be named at Dr. Jose Williams. And I marched with him at night, as I first stated, and they put him in jail for a while. And you were calling for something to be named after him. And I don't know why they don't do that. It's a funny thing. Savannah's a peculiar place in a way. Just like last night. So-called leaders in this community should have been there to honor you, what you have done in this community since you've been in that state legislature. But you know what I said last night, how you feed people. I told you what Jesus said. All these things you should do to one another. And he said, Jesus said this to them, do this and do that, feed and clothe, visit and jail, you remember? And I put you in that position as one of the disciples asked Jesus, so when did we see you like that, Master? In jail, hungry, whatever. And he said, these are the words of Christ. As often as you do these to one of these, you have what? Done it unto me. And like I said to you last night, that you were in that position where Jesus was talking about doing to your sisters and brothers in this world. And also you talked about your sister doing a great job. Pat Gunn, ladies and gentlemen, his sister was on the show talking about removing that racist man, that Calhoun rascal off that square. That was his sister started that and moved that movement. Now it has been changed. And I'm going to be frank. That's why my program is straight talk. Nobody buy me. I don't sell out my unborn generations of Black children. I'm going on. If I live to decent November, I'll be 91 years old, and God has been gracious to me. Still, in fact, my mind's still sharp. I read all the time. I work in this community. But I got to say, when I got to that show last night, I was just disappointed. I don't see other leaders in this community honoring you for what you have done. I don't understand it.
Well, Mr. Thornton, the Bible
really makes me feel bad.
The Bible says a prophet is not honored in his own town. And
that's what Jesus said.
Yeah, too many times we wait until someone goes home, and as we commemorate them and eat the fried chicken and take out the takeout plates, we start celebrating them after they're gone. And so what happened last night, God had everybody that was in the room that needed to be in the room. There were people that gave me renewed strength. When you think about this format of what Julius Hall is doing, I'm looking at the bottom from champion our current DA and champion Black media, which we need, because if we don't tell the story, who's going to tell the story? When you think about Dr. Torre, who was there last night, it's about all the women, Benetta Lanier. and all the women, Alicia Blakely, who would have been there. And I send our prayers out to her and her family on today, because I know, I call her the lioness. I know she would have been there. And so the right people were there. And we have to know, when people show you who they are, believe it.
Mr. Gilliard, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the show, back live. Mr. Gilliard, I did mention to you last night to ask you a question, and I'm not the only one who's concerned, but I know a lot of folk, and especially if they're listening to me, and I want them to know this. You know, at first, the legislature passed this terrible piece of legislation, was House Bill 802. And I think you told me that and my judgment from what you said last night to me, and ladies and gentlemen, that 802 was that if I'm in line to get the vote, nobody can bring me a glass of water. And I was concerned. I said, now, to my friend, John, I said, now, John, I got to find out who goes to jail, the person that bring me the water or the person that's going to be the recipient of the water. Whereas that thing is ridiculous in the first place. And all of that was being done to discourage you from voting. So the question was, when I asked you last night, you said they had repealed that and put together another law. Explain that to us.
Our theme for our conference this year, Mr. Thornton, is called Redeeming the Soul of America, Testing 1, 2, 3. And they kicked out a bill, which is a series of bills. They're doing it all over the country, everybody. Senate Bill 202 was a voter suppression bill, like the bills that are all over the country. This is something that they're doing. If they do it in Georgia, they can do it in Tennessee, they can do it in Alabama. That's all they're doing. And if it works where they get it passed in one state, they're doing another type bill that kind of encompasses Georgia. So they did this bill where they were changing the whole narrative of voting, trying to just disencourage us to go out and vote. And this bill, along with the removing voting, early voting in different areas and limiting that, they came back and they began to say that if you pass out water, potato chips, or anything, that you can be fined in reference to a criminal charge against you. And so this was a way, with the long lines that we have and people coming out in mass numbers, to disencourage us and disencourage those people who were helping. You know, if I were in the line and I saw people that needed water, I wouldn't ask them who they're voting for. I'd give them a bottle of water, give them some chips. That's just a compassionate thing to do. But what they did is they didn't just have Jim Crow Esquire. They had the whole scenario of everything that tried to set back and turn back the hands of time for all those that gave us the right to vote, for all those that fought for the right to vote. And so we understand that we are determined people. Now what they're doing, Mr. Thornton, they have bills lined up, because what these Republicans are doing, they're not satisfied that they have the majority and they won. They're going back and they're going bill after bill until they stripped the whole promise of the democracy on the ballot.
But in effect now, but that new bill is still in effect. That's the thing I want to know.
It's still in effect. And one of my representatives, Representative Roger Bruce, they tried to come at him because he was passing out water. like he is a good Samaritan, and they tried to find him, but it didn't work. So this bill is in effect, and now they're enforcing another piece of legislation and more to come.
See, what I'm saying is, I'm glad you're on this show, and I understood I had over 1,000 people, a lot of people out of state, but all of those who are here in Savannah, Georgia, in Chatham County, we need to spread that word out to people that when they go to vote. A lot of folk don't know that. That's why I brought that question up to you. See, I didn't know I couldn't give nobody a glass of water. I didn't know I could so. So the point I'm saying is, if that law still is in effect, then we need to tell everybody all the time before we vote. These are certain things that we will have to pay attention to, especially when we go to vote, because nobody wants to be arrested because you give somebody a glass of water or a bottle of water. But I talked to your aide last night on the plane. I had thought about. I did not know the girl and the lady. And I don't mean to call her a girl. I'm sorry. The young lady who has one of these civil rights groups. I was trying to get her number to call her to tell her about a plan that I had envisioned. And I talked to your friend last night about to give another water and chips stuff. And he thought that was a very good idea. And he will discuss it with you. I don't know whether he has or not, but something has to be done in that effect, because some people will get discouraged. I would never go vote again. I go to vote, then I get arrested, all that.
They're doing all kind of things. They're getting ready
for voting. That discourage you not to want to come back and vote again. That's why we got to what? Prepare these people with these things. Now, the only criticism I have, sometimes you can't think of everything. Understand me? That's why you're supposed to come and let people know. The only thing I did think that the legislators who represent us, you, what the young man named, the other two guys that running, that lady, whatever, y'all represent us in Chatham County. And after I'm just gonna make this proposal to you, you give us some thought for the future in January when the new session starts. After session is over on major legislation, you, all four of y'all or three of y'all, should get together and have a meeting to discuss these essential bills, like this water bill. A lot of guys don't even know that they're former felons and offenders. They don't know they can vote. But if y'all had call a meeting in the community after the legislation is over, to talk about certain legislation that affect us, that we ought to know about. Just like that I'm saying about that water. Somebody go up there and give somebody a glass of water or give them a bottle of water, and here's the police arresting them, and they know nothing about it.
Well, they're trying to turn the hands of time back. Everyone that's listening, DEI is a reality of our history. They're taking history books off the shelves of our history. They're limiting the history to be taught in the schools. They're taking curriculums out, testing 1, 2, 3. It's happening all over the nation. The Georgia Legislative Black Caucus is coming to Savannah. We are partnering with the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yeah, I'm a member of that. I'm a member of the American Civil Liberties Union.
They're very proud that Savannah has one of the largest populations of members in this city, in the state. And Andrea Young, who is the daughter of a former U.S. Ambassador Andrew Young and attorney Bruce and others, we're going to come to Savannah with a DEI books tour. And that is that they're taking our history, our books off the shelves. Can you imagine not being able to go to the library and check out a key book by Langston Hughes or something about civil rights or something that's historical about Shirley Chisholm and others? And that's where our democracy is on the ballot. The other thing is we're getting ready to introduce a bill, Mr. Thornton, called the Crown Act. The Crown Act is we should be able to wear our hair like we want to wear our hair. Sometimes we got some of us got hair that's coarse, nappy, afros, all types of things, dreads, but we are who we are. Our heritage is coming under attack. The way we wear our hair is coming under attack. And the other thing is freedom of speech, the right to protest. Mr. Thornton, y'all protest and demonstrated for the rights that we have now. You mean to tell me you're going to have bills in this session that focus on taking away our freedom of speech? So for everyone that is not thinking about voting in November, let me come on the record tonight live and living color and tell you don't have the luxury of time for us to sit on our posteriors and worry about the less of the former president or the current president. Just before we came on the show, we saw the hype that is out there where there's been a shooting at a rally and all the above. I'm looking at my phone in real time, Mr. Thornton, because members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, we're looking at, now we're under attack because you have something that's happened to the former president or something that it was supposed to happen. And now you've got people from all over the state trying to throw threats at members that are elected. So democracy is on the line. That's why we need you to vote. If you're young and you're 17 and a half, we need you to get, if you're disenfranchised with the choices, get up and vote so your voice will be heard. If you stay home, your voice will not be heard. I know that it's hard in reference to the choices, but guess what? We don't have the luxury of time to sit back. This 2025 project is real. It's real. The former president is talking about mass deportation on day one. So we're not just talking about Hispanics and Asian Pacifics. We're talking about Bohemians and Africans and those that are part of our culture. So, Mr. Thornton, this is why your show is so important, that everyone is listening under the sound of my voice, that we have to get up. We got 3.5 to 4 months to organize the state of Georgia and the nation, because the people are on the ballot.
You know, Mr. Gilliard, on this show, that's what I do. I try to educate my people about Black history. I remember one day I was sitting in my office and the telephone rang, and there was a white guy on the opposite end of the phone. And when I answered the phone, I said, "May I help you? You're Mr. Thornton." I'm he. My son, you know, we're in this world this day, and we have all this. It's a white man, all this going on about the books and all that. I said, wait a minute. This racial theory. I said, wait a minute. The crux of the problem is this, sir. You white people do not want these white children to know how terrible the way you treated Black Americans. He hung up the phone in my face, but it didn't matter to me. So I try to tell people. That's why I'm so indebted to Mr. Hall. I know he gets ticked of me talking and ringing by his name all the time, but I can't help it. And I ring Mr. Small name because he will speak out on issues that affecting Black people. I try to talk history on Black people. We've been in this country over 400 years. Over 400. 1619 to 224. And this 20, 40, 25 business agenda, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do this. And Black folk are going to be standing out in the rain. I'm telling you, we got to vote like our whole lives depend on it. Don't fall for that foolishness about Mr. Trump. Trump had not done nothing for no Black people. Then why hasn't he put a Black woman on the Supreme Court? Why? The only Black person in his cabinet of any significance was the cabinet member, the guy who was the doctor. He was a great doctor, neurologist, no question about it. He separated Siamese twins. But that's it.
That's right.
That's it. He did nothing else for Black people. But look at the other Mr. Biden. You got the number 2 man for the protection of the country. The number 1 man is the president. The number 2 man is the Secretary of Defense, Mr. General Austin. Then you got the Black general, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump would never do this. I got a magazine I show it next time I have my show. He's already chosen 4 guys for the Secretary of State, all of that kind of stuff. Not one person Black. And then I get so angry when I see these Black folk at his rally holding up a sign. They're doing that because they got money. They sell out their own mamas. And we got people in the same community that will sell out Black people. I don't give a rap whether you like it or not. I'm going to tell the truth about it. We ought to be like Reverend Small said last night. Unity.
That's right.
I said last night, they're honoring you. And I don't hold back what I want to say. I was a little disappointed when I saw that I didn't see some people I thought would have been their leaders and former leaders of the city. Ought to have been honoring you. What you've done in this community.
Our city, Chatham County, is Chocolate City. We got the majority dominant Black city council. We have a predominantly Black county commission. We have a Black tax commissioner, a Black coroner, a Black fire chief, a Black police chief. We have a predominantly Black.
The whole thing. Yes, sir, we ought to be moving anytime legislation.
Chocolate City is real. And here's my thing, Mr. Thornton, what I can't understand, and I told members of the Biden team this, and that's why I'm hoping and praying, because we have individuals like Julius Hall and others that are some of the most strategic people politically, and they should not be excluded from the opportunity to get the vote out. We need everybody. We need the best and brightest, and we need the most committed. So when we have teams, I told Ossoff's people, I told Biden's people, when you come to this city, it's more than one side in reference to who you connect with. If I were a concert promoter and I was trying to get a rap concert promoted, I cannot just promote it on E93. I've got to also look at 94.1 The Beat. And so here's the thing. If you want to sell the concert out, you're going to talk to everyone you can, every vehicle you can. You can't say, I don't like E93. I don't like 94.1. I don't like this young person who's an influencer. You've got to get to everybody. And too many times, people are coming to our city and everyone is not being included. That is getting ready to stop. We have to let people know, if we're going to be one team, one sound, one band, it's time for everybody to come together.
Unity.
You got to have unity.
Now you have this, you talked last night about this 15 city tour y'all doing. And when will that get started? You're probably going to talk about getting out the vote, voters registration.
So the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, and I'm very proud of the 74 senators and state reps, the largest Black caucus in the world now.
So when are we going to start that? Going that tour?
We get August the 2nd, and August the 2nd, we start with our conference in Atlanta. We start with the Black Roundtable in Atlanta, Georgia. We have Black lawyers, Black DAs, and Black judges. Powerful event. It's free and open to the public. You just have to register. August the 2nd, the 3rd, we have our speaker, our Unity Breakfast with Dr. Jamal Bryant as our keynote speaker, a pastor, and, we mentioned spiritual with political. And then we have our luncheon with one of the most powerful congresswomen in the nation, my good friend, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who is no joke. She will be our keynote speaker.
I've seen her on television plenty of times.
Yes, and she's ready and fit for fight. And that's August the 3rd. So the conference is August the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th in Atlanta. And I'll be glad to give you information. Matter of fact, as we're talking, I'm gonna put the website up so everybody can. I'll send it to you. But we start our 15 city tour, the For the People tour. Right after that, we feel that this tour from Valdosta to Savannah to Augusta to Columbus to Macon, all over the state of Georgia, Brunswick. It's important for us to do this tour. It's a For the People tour, Mr. Thornton, because we got to take it to the people. And so this tour will feature the labor unions. It'll feature the NAACP, the ACLU, the Urban League, League of Women Voters, Black Voters Matter. Everyone that we can under the sound of our voices uniting. Georgia Stand Up, everybody. And so this is an opportunity for everyone to come together. We're going to meet the people. We go to that city. We're going to have a major get out the vote canvassing, taking the message to the people, the barbershops, the beauty salons. Then we're going to have, watch this, Mr. Thornton. When Jesus wanted to talk to the people, simply he did one thing that Carl Gilliard does, feed them. If we're talking about high prices on food and all the above, people, we got to meet their needs. So the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus is partnering with the AME churches and the CME churches that have food ministries. And we're going to go into partner with them. And when we get ready to have our rallies, we're going to feed the people. They need to see us feed the people so we can talk to the people, so we can be engaged with the people. And these are 15 cities across the state, registering people to vote, encouraging them to get out and vote. The young people, we're coming. We just had a young man with us last night. He's the current chair of the Georgia Black Caucus, the Young Black Caucus. Yeah. He's getting ready to become the state president of the Young Democrats across the state of Georgia. We got to let them lead, and we got to let them get to their audience. And so everyone
will take a little break just for momentarily. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're back again. Had to take a little break. It was time to catch our breath. Mr. Gilliard,
Yes,
last
sir.
night, that young man you mentioned, my eyes are giving me the devil to dank. That young man spoke last night for the Young Democrat. I was really, really, really extremely impressed with him. He sort of reminded me of you. And when I listened to him last night, I was really impressed. Now, this foolish about Mr. Trump talking about they got the Republicans, they got 13% of the vote from African Americans when he ran the first time. We need to make that less. But now I'm a very candid person. Now, he made a very nasty remark as far as I'm concerned about Wisconsin, where that's where the convention is right. They start this week, Milwaukee. And the mayor spoke and talked about, how other folk came and talked about how nice Milwaukee was and everything. He said it was a horrible city. Now, when the mayor spoke, the only thing I thought he should have said, I'm going to say this, if I were the mayor, I would have said this, well, he said these terrible things about Milwaukee, but let's just show him when it's time to vote. But when you get the opportunity to say these things to encourage black folk, they don't say it. That's what the mayor should have said when he made that comment about the convention being in Milwaukee. And then, of course, he makes these kind of remarks wherever there are black mayors in charge. That's what Trump does. And that little young man last night was very impressive. But I thought Dr. Smalls, he was just magnificent.
Yes.
He was, and I was so glad. What you thought about when he came down on the Democrats because of Mr. Biden made a little misstep. But I want you to know Reagan made a misstep when he ran for president. President Obama when his first debate, he didn't show good either.
Some people don't debate. Some people don't debate well. I mean, I tell my chief of staff, who I'm very proud of, who is the Millennium. One day we were in the Capitol and I had back-to-back meetings, all day long up until the wee hours of the early evening. And I told him, I took my glasses off. I said, look in my eyes. I need you to look in my eyes because some days I might become weary where I'm about to fall out. We all missteps. We're human beings. President Biden with the infrastructure bill, when everybody was getting those checks, they talking about checks from Trump. Do you realize that 1 million people died of COVID? That a lot of people are not at our tables anymore? And this man had to come into just chaos with COVID. Do you remember the funerals we could not attend because we couldn't get into the church because of COVID, or we had to stay out in the cemetery at a distance to bury our loved ones? Some of us went to the hospitals and couldn't get to our loved ones. And this president had to come into that. And then he had to deal with giving the revenue to sustain you. Do you remember those checks that you used to get? Then when COVID was going on, you didn't have to work, and those funds for your business and all the above. And so sometimes we forget and we get it mixed up. Well, Trump gave us a check. Trump gave y'all a piece of check. He didn't give y'all something to sustain you. The infrastructure bill, the roads, the improvements, the school forgiveness loan, all of those things that we should take time to dissect. And this man had to deal with all of that. Yeah, he's going to miss a couple of steps because he's never stopped working at 81 years of age. He's going to miss a step. We all miss steps. But guess what? We are on the ballot, people. Do y'all understand that? It's not just democracy. You're on the ballot. I mean, we still have people struggling and with high rentals and housing, mortgages, and all the above. We have to have someone who cares about us and not just cares about getting themselves out of a fix. Let me say this as a black man, one of the things I went through when I was fined for not being able to show that I was paying people, canvassing and all the above, every year I would take a bus up to Atlanta and pay for the bus. It's called Get on the Bus every year. I pay for the seafood that senators and state reps and even the governor eats every year. I pay for the food, dealing with committee members coming down here for the farmers market. And so you got to understand that one day after that, a senator who is not of color had $630,000 in 2015. He didn't turn in one receipt. They did not fine him. They said statute of limitations, and they sent him home. This was in the same hearing that they fined me. And so I realized that I'm a threat to democracy. And we got to understand the hype that they put out, the tricks that they put out. I'm saying this to you today. Don't believe the hype about what they're trying to say to make you stay home, to make you think that just because this man who is 81, who deserves to miss a step, we can't let Biden has worked for us. Now it's time for us to work for Biden. Our country, democracy, safety for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, for you are on the line. Men and women that have been incarcerated, we're never going to have a redeemed justice system. We're bringing the governor down. Governor Westmore will be at the conference. Tentative. We got a tentative on him. He just let 157,000 people. He gave them a purge of pardon for miscellaneous, charges dealing with marijuana and all the above. We need courageous leaders who care about us, who give us a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth chance. This election is important. If you have not registered to vote, register to vote. If you're thinking about not voting, you don't have the luxury of time. We can't turn the hands of time back.
That's right, because that's all we have as black folk. Economically, we don't have. We have a lot of people in the middle class, but we have so many people not in the middle class, and therefore, if that 2025 agenda came into existence, the man has already said he'll be a dictator first day. He wants to be people retribution. He said if he loses the election, he's going to have a bloodbath, violence and chaos. Maybe that shooting today going to scare him up. I hope it will.
Let me tell you something. This incident didn't happen today. I don't know how to picture it, Mr. Thornton. I saw it in real time. Something told me to get to the TV set, to turn on the 6:30 news. I turn on the 6:30 news. I see it in real time at the rally. I see the former president, Secret Service. I see him touch his ear, see the blood. Now they're reporting that two people have one person got killed. The shooter has been shot and killed. We don't know who he or she was. And then someone in the second row was killed. For us, nobody got killed, but one got killed. And that's why my people are just blowing me up, because, you got to picture this. We are elected officials. And then you picture, can I just be very plain? I'm I'm the highest ranking black elected official in the state right now. I'm the chair of the largest black caucus in the world. And so
that's great. Oh yeah.
Yeah. With that, we're always threatened. Every time we go up and down the road, there are times we have to get extra security for several things. But my thing is that this is going into the heels of the convention. You know how dangerous this whole weekend now is because of what just happened. First of all, I don't wish anyone to get shot or killed. I mean, whoever, if that's all the facts come out. But guess what? We're in a time right now where people have just lost it. There's no respect for life, personality, or anything. There's no respect for the way democracy should go. And so,
well, Ms. Gilliard, when you preach violence, when you preach hate, then you're going to be the reciprocal of the same thing that you preach. And that's all Trump does. He has not one time talked about what they're going to do to improve this or improve that. Look how effective Mr. President was talking about foreign policy. All he talking about was like he dismantled the United States government from NATO. And NATO was established to keep an eye on Russia. But he pulled us out of NATO. And Iran wants to destroy Israel from the face of the earth. And that's another thing I mentioned once or twice on my show. But I'm going to give them scripture here the next month, what God said about Israel with that land he gave them. I can tell you what it said in the book of Genesis. He told Abrams, who was not your minister. He told Abrams, and later God changed the name to Abraham. But here's what he told Abrams, quoted in the scripture, the book of Genesis. This day, that's God speaking, I give you this land that's from the river of Egypt to the river of Euphrates. All that Middle East. People don't understand history because they don't read and they don't tell you.
If we don't, you said this.
I mean, those people in the Middle East are not in the country. England ran that all that territory until they passed out of there. The Palestinian is not a nation, but they're human beings that should be treated fairly. We all know that. No question about that. But they have been trying to run Israel and destroy Israel from the face of the earth since they got back there in 1948 when God brought them back there. Ralph Bunche, black man. First black man to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. Ralph Bunche worked for the United Nations. He went to the Middle East, to Jerusalem, and brought between Israel and the Palestinians. Of course, they had artifacts at that time. He kept a lot of hatred going on. And look what they did October. Look what they did this year, October the 7th, 6th or the 7th. 6th, whatever the winter was. When all these young people were at a festival, like black folk go to concerts. Some outstanding singer comes to Savannah, the Civic Center, hundreds of them go to the concert. And after the concert was over, they shot them down. Over 200 people they shot and killed. And shot the girls in the leg. You know, they fell on the ground and they raped them and they murdered them. You see what I'm saying? And you got a man like Trump teaching violence. He threatened America. He threatened America. If you don't vote for me, it's going to be a bloodbath.
I'll say this in thought, guns don't die, people do. And recently our governor passed legislation that made, we can say stop the violence and all the above, but then when we legalize for everybody to get access to guns, we promote a state that is not too busy to hate, but a state that participates with hate. And so when you have someone that's in the position of president, and we're not talking about taking away your Second Amendment. I mean, I definitely, you come at me, I'm packing out. My assistant told me one day in the Capitol, I said, well, if something happens, what are we going to do? She said, get behind the desk. I said, no, I'm not getting behind the desk. I got something behind the desk. And so we're not trying to take away your Second Amendment, right? But at the same time, we can't promote an environment of violence. We passed a very powerful piece of legislation. And I do want to take time to thank the Weeping Times Heritage Corridor, House Bill 1425, the Weeping Times Heritage Corridor. And the reason we passed it is because we cannot allow history to be circumvented, that there were almost 400 slaves that were sold in 1858. They were sold, 6-month-old babies. It rained for 2 days. The God Almighty himself cried. But not only important of the ceremony of commemorating those individuals, but you look at West Savannah, Hudson Hill, all that corridor. We need economic development. The in-market arena is there, but there's going to be a corridor of waterways and all the above. I want to see some people that are millionaires that look like me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be black forever. I want to see some people of color that are millionaires in this city. And here's an open challenge to all of us that are in position, all of us. If this is Chocolate City, then let's see some chocolate millionaires.
Well, you're doing a great job. One more thing I'm going to ask you. We got a few more minutes. And I have been questioning and considering to ask you about this quite some time ago. And I'm glad I get an opportunity to ask you now. Your sister did such a marvelous job with that square.
Yes.
So I went to one of her meetings. She has white and black members of her coalition. Wonderful people. I went to one of their banquets. And on the way out, they gave me a plaque for my service in the community, which I was grateful for. And on the way out, I was right behind a white gentleman who was there, one of her members of her group. And he looked at me and said, congratulations, Mr. Thornton, this, that, and other. I thanked him. And he said, Mr. Thornton, I got one concern that's been worrying for quite some time. This is the truth. And at your sister's affair. And he said, when are they going to move those Confederate statues off of that Society Park? Now, what's the problem there? Somebody said, it's the legislature, somebody this, that, and the other. And yet still, in Virginia, they had the largest statue of all of Robert E. Lee It took 2 cranes to take it down.
The city of Savannah, I'm going on record, has the power to do so.
Why they don't do it? They come and say, well, the legislature said you got somebody lying and somebody don't want to take no leadership. That's what I can't understand. People being in these positions are afraid to open their mouths.
It takes courage to do what Pat Gunn and the coalition to move a racist, a former vice president of the United States, John Calhoun, off the square. It takes courageous and courage.
Black and
white citizens. I call them abolitionists. The Queen Mother, Pat Gunn, the master story, the truth teller, not master storyteller, because she doesn't tell stories. She's a truth teller. That they got together, black and white citizens, and they said that they deserve to change this name to Susie King Taylor. And Mr. Thornton, I've never seen anything like it. That's what democracy looks like.
Exactly. And I just can't understand. I mean, somebody said, well, they agreed to some writings they have on some part of building or some statue, let that stay there. Well, why they got to have generals and all this for Confederate? Those people were insurrectionists. Those people were traitors. And every one of those generals from Robbie Lee, Stonewall Jackson, all of them, they went to West Point. We paid the American people, trained them at their schools. As a matter of fact, when the rebellion first started in Charleston, there, President Lincoln sent for Robert E. Lee and asked him to take control of the situation and bring down this rebellion. And he turned that down. So I just wonder why those statues got to be there.
You know, even going back in the history, there was a very powerful speech that one of the former presidents, President Reagan, said to Mr. Gorbachev. He said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down these walls. The walls must come tumbling down. We're naming an interchange after a very powerful civil rights leader who was very connected to Reverend Jose Williams, the Francis Bright Johnson Memorial Interchange. We're naming, you mentioned Reverend Jose Williams. We're not only naming Reverend Jose Williams, we got it approved in this last session. We're naming the Reverend Dr. Jose Williams and Representative Juanita Williams interchange. It has been approved. We have 3 interchanges that we're dedicating, and those are 2. I will make this commitment as I move forward to move into this session. There are going to be more. We need to name it, say their names. I've got more highways and interchanges named than most elected officials. I might need to go on record and say I probably got more, but I'm almost certain that I'm probably one of 2 that have got more than anyone in the state of Georgia. And I'm going to make sure in the next 2 sessions that we follow that trend and we name it and claim it and say their names.
Well, do all you can to get those Confederate statues out of that park. It's ridiculous. Young men got arrested for playing basketball in there. Unbelievable what black folk went through. That's why black folk got to sit down and think, and thank God. Now, when you mentioned when you had a little mishap when you said a word, well, I want folk to understand that that's why God had Aaron to be with Moses.
Yep.
Moses told God himself that he was slow in speech.
Yep.
See?
He stuttered.
Just like we don't know what physical condition that Apostle Paul had, the greatest missionary the world has ever produced. That man was carrying the Christ gospel everywhere. He was snake bitten. He was shipwrecked, put in jail, all of that.
That's right. Inferior complex. But he kept moving forward.
We need to do something about them statues. I'm not going to ever be pleased until those statues are completely taken off of that square. It's ridiculous.
Well,
and they kept saying to me, it was the legislature. Oh, the legislature got to pass bill. Somebody lying somewhere. Now,
when Ahmaud Arbery was killed, when he was murdered in Glenn County, we had a chance to recognize the citizen arrest law where they would actually have you for 48 hours. They could hold you and you would not return. And it was a legal law to lynch black people. They said that law could not be changed. We repealed Georgia's outdated and antiquated citizen arrest law. And so I'm hearing what you're saying, Mr. Thornton, and my promise to you is that either the burden of shift to the city of Savannah, and if it goes to the state, which I'm sure it's more on the city, if it goes to the state, I will promise you that we will move forward to do everything possible to remove the racist statues out of Forsyth Park.
And I should have been. I should have gotten a bit of looking at nothing like that. Yes, we know history. In history, you're supposed to accept it, but you're supposed to improve yourself from history. When I think of 90, like I said, and when I spoke last night, 90,000 black men, 90,000 was in World War II, fighting and giving their lives in World War II. 90,000. And that black man was on that bus. Mr. Wood was his name there. Going to South Carolina, just got out of the Army. Isaac Woodland, that's his name, 1946. Just got out of the military, going home with his uniform, was on some bus. And they never really said exactly what happened. It was something like supposedly that he wanted to use a restroom and asked the bus driver, could he just wait momentarily? And the man said something nasty to him, and he said something back to him. That was the altercation. And what happened? The bus driver got on the bus, got off the bus, changed his mind, got off the bus, went to the phone, and he called some people to meet him at the next stop. And when that bus got there, they dragged that soldier off the bus, took bullet clubs that beat him to death, all in the head. They blind the man. And President Truman was very upset about it. And I think that's what made him integrate the military. And here's a man been fighting for democracy, and he come on his own home. And I'm going to tell you something else. I was meant to say last night about the Constitution. That's what Trump's supposed to do. He wants to do with certain elements of the Constitution. Like Mr. Gilliard said, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out and vote. We don't have money, but the white man with all the millions can't vote but one time, just like you. That's when you're even with him. You kill that man, and they're over there fighting for freedom. Come to his own land, and he doesn't get freedom. Liberate other people in Europe, and his people are not liberated in his own country. Great day. Well, Brother Gilliard, I'm so happy you came on the show tonight. And the show last night, honoring you, was just magnificent. And I wish everybody here, all that information you said last night, you couldn't get started. And when you got started, you couldn't stop. Buddy, you would give us some good information. And of course, Dr. Small, as usual. He was magnificent.
As always.
And talking truth and facts. Not just talking nonsense. Anybody can talk nonsense, but talk facts. You know, I read a magazine came to me the other day, and I got free something with the name of the magazine. I threw it in the trash. And this theologian said, or this person who was really a theologian, he said talking about having faith, and say faith, you got to have faith, you got to have evidence. Well, I just remind me, Jesus said, blessed are those who have not seen, but yet believe. So we believe of the Christian faith. So you did a magnificent job, and you're still doing a magnificent job. And like I told you last night, and I meant that words when I said, the Lord bless and keep you. The Lord keep his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And I meant that from my heart, because I looked at that memorabilia. You're a young man in the 20s, and you had courage. And look what God led you to do for his people. So I want to thank you for being on this program tonight. I want to bless you for being on it. And your sister's done a great job and still doing a great job. That's square. But so I don't know whether this is true or not, Mr. Gilliard, but I was told that the mayor, whoever it is, I don't know, want to put a marker on that same land where that scoundrel said, Calhoun, slavery is not an evil. It's a positive thing for Negroes. That's what he said. And well, somebody put a marker say that this square was once named after him. Who would want to even remind anybody that this square was named after a person like that, where all these slaves are dead and buried?
Well, we got to build new monuments. You know, I'll say this lastly. Dr. King said, give us the vote, and we will change the course of this nation. I'm just so pumped up right now that even with these markers, with squares that don't look like us, streets that don't look like us, we have got to get the right people in office. For if everyone that's serving for 4 years, you shouldn't get elected and we don't see you anymore. If you're serving for 2 years, you shouldn't get elected and we don't see you at all. And so we got to get more elected officials that want to know that you're servant leaders. You're not just being elected with a name tag and we don't see you anymore. So that's why we got to get out the vote. That's why it's important. And we're on the ballot, people. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare of, ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. And if it is we the people, we're on the ballot.
Well, I just want to say again, I'm out of time, sir, but I'm gracious for you to have been here tonight, and I bless you. And I will look forward to seeing you again. And I always talk to your sisters all the time. But anyway, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you.
You're very informative, and I hope that everybody was listening would pass on this information to others, because we can be a great people. God has made us a great people. We just have to put into effect, trust him, and do what we're supposed to do, what's right, and pray that God will give us leaders. Like Solomon asked God. And God said, because you didn't ask me to kill your enemies, you didn't ask me to make you rich, I'm going to make you the most wisest man the world has ever seen. So I thank God for you, sir. And again, thank you very much for being on Straight Talk.
Thank you.
Like this.